Good morning, everybody. Happy 2022. Starting off here, kind of quiet, which is okay so far. All right. So markets moved up quite a bit, right, over the prior 2 weeks. Last week was Monday up, and then for a certain amount, and then things just went flat. So what do we have here? We've got a nice momentum move higher, right? A power move. And we're looking at the futures here that pushed up to new all-time highs. Fantastic. Now, as you know, when you get a move like that, it creates what we call a void. This here area that it exceeded is what we call minor support, which is what we'll say subjective. Why? It's further than what's directly to the left. So what is directly to the left? And if you look here as we line up the lines, right, that's your minor support. And this is, something that I struggled with. Part of what I learned in the very early on years is like, hey, I understand this concept of what was resistance becomes support. And as it gets retested, as prices come back to that level, there's going to be buyers there. Okay, so why do I see minor resistance and minor support get cut through as if it's not even there? And other times it seems to work. Well, when it's this close, it has a tendency not to work, but it is there. But in reality, what we're paying attention to, because intraday traders are the ones that first step up to the plate, so to speak, during a pullback, that recognize on a smaller time frame some bottoming process. And what are intraday traders actually focused on? Intraday data, right? And so as they look at that intraday data and look at what's directly to the left, assuming, hey, there's people out there that are looking at really weird stuff like fib lines and fib extensions and VWAPs and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So as an intraday trader, and everybody is that is in here, it's like you look at this hourly chart or whatever time frame you're going to look at, and you look to the left for some support, and it isn't this. You're not looking at that. You're looking at this little shelf over here, which means this is meaningless. Now, to someone on a daytime chart, they would say, well, okay, minor support. Let's see what happens there. All right, I'm not in disagreement with that because it's so widely followed. In this case, it's very close, but buyers stepped up there. So how do we resolve this? First of all, we have a rule as an MTS. If it traded below and above, it's been neutralized. It's subjective. It went through it. Now, what's directly to the left in the time frame that we're looking at here? And so as we look at this, we see that there's a shelf over here. And that is an area of support for us to pay attention to intraday. Now, we have other concepts, right? We have to have these rules, right, that come into our trading plan that allow us to shift our thoughts and bias based on what is on the chart, not based on what we would like to happen. Right? So as we see something like this and it breaks, oh, it's going to go down here. That's the next thought, because you look to the left, you're going to go down there. However, there's a concept that we call creating support or creating resistance. So the way that happens is it has to create a pivot. What's a pivot? A bar with three higher lows to the left and right. And it did that over here. Why? I don't know. Why did it do it there? Well, maybe some other market did. It was in the middle of the night. Something happened. Anyway, it did. Formed a pivot. Now that created a new support point, and then it got retested. So now we have new information. This information down here, maybe it ain't getting there. And so as it's chopping around, I'm really not interested in any of this because it's a mess. But it did create support, and someone stepped up there, and they stepped up there again, and they pushed it up here, And now it's at this level, which has kind of resulted in just a flip-flop type of price action on the daily chart, which if it should break here now, it should go down here with what I would call authority, meaning it's just going to, this fails, it's going to go down to the next level. And whether it stops here or it stops here, where you can see this line where I'm on here on the hourly lines up with the 20 MA, which would be just kind of ideal place for the S&Ps to pull back on a daily time frame for a swing trade. So we'll see if it just stays in this trading range, which if it can do that, that's a positive, because if it can run up like this, which is power, and go sideways up here in the face of a next whole number, that's bullish. And so it did dip down here. And if it can hold that and go sideways, right? So as we go into today, we look at this and say, hey, we're neutral. This is nothing, but we're still bullish based on this move up. I need to see more correction because this isn't something to trade. And so the NASDAQ is pulled back further. And so as this started to come down, it actually trended down, and now it's got this head and shoulders type of a bottom. It's not so clear, but look at where it's setting up. Looking to the left again. You can't see that on the daily chart. But when you see overlapping opens and closes, you suspect that maybe there's something. And we see that over here. So is this pulled back far enough? I don't know. This bar is not done. If I look at the Qs, you see there was a little extra selling than what we saw in the S&P. It couldn't get up to the high. It has the same void. Coming down, where is it? 399. It's still, gapping up a little bit, but it's given back quite a bit from where it was. Came down pretty hard too, as you can see, straight vertically to the downside. And there's a gap under there, and it's the holiday. And also, I think you're going to find out no matter where we look, we're kind of neutral to bullish to, things are just not ready yet for us to really participate from a swing trading level. This is going sideways so far at resistance after a deep retracement. We like that, right? But it doesn't present us with any kind of a pattern yet. If it takes out these highs, can the market continue to push up into this void? Well, we know anything is possible. This corrective price action, maybe it is enough that it takes off. I would like to see a spike down and back up again. I love my little correction bars, or actually they should be wider bars. These correction bars should be range expansion bars, whether it's a bottoming tail bar or a gap down and comes right back up again, because range expansion bars are emotional bars. Little bars like this where the opens and closes are it's like sleepy time. If it moves a little, maybe we'll do something. Or, there's just nothing going on here. Let's just set alerts and move on to other things. And the Dow, right, which pushed up to that new high and got rejected, and you got the same kind of flip-floppy action going on here. Bullish, but neutral. It needs to correct, to digest the gain, to build up some new support and see where that goes. Now, our internals, I like to say, are close enough for government work. While this isn't punctured up through this upper sentiment band here, historically 8.0 is bearish. This is up here. So it's high enough to be cautious. And of course, this move up is high enough to be cautious. SPX 4,800 is that level again. Naturally, it backed off from there. Before this, it was 4,700, and blasted through that eventually. So we'll see. If it chops around here for a while and consolidates, and this kind of backs off a little bit, maybe toward the zero line, maybe it's 5,000 before we get some kind of deeper correction. And one of my thoughts over the weekend and what writing the newsletters, Dan does part of the newsletter. I do part of the newsletter. And so, part of my thoughts were, look, last year, 5% correction, 5% correction, wherever it was, that was the big of it. To think that there could be a 10% correction sometime this year is a reasonable thought. So with that in mind, we do not want it to start here because, it's going to bring it all the way back down, to the October low. And we don't want that from a bullish point of view. We don't want it coming, all the way back down here for a 10% correction. However, if it was to push up to 5,000 by chance before some corrective price action, well, I could measure where 10% is, but let's just, kind of just for thoughts, where would that put us? I think about there, right? Right. So this would be an ideal scenario for a correction of a larger magnitude than what we have seen recently. An initial move up and then a pullback of about 10, let's say 10%. And then we'll just see how it plays out. But if it starts here, well, it's going to put it down there, which we don't want that because now we're just in this big sloppy trading range, more uncertainty. So as we start out the new year, we kind of look at things as to what might be the best scenarios and so on. Is there a max number of bars on a flag pattern in the place? I don't know. I just think it's just a visual thing. I've never counted the bars. With a flag pattern, it'll usually come down and pivot and come back up, and what gives it that little wave kind of situation. Did the 20 MA catch up to that flag? I'm not sure which flag you're talking about when it gets close to the 20. So if you're talking about here, if this was to come down and kind of be like a flag, right, this would be considered the flag pole because of the strengths, and then if it flagged down here to the 20, that could play out. Sure. You can see here on the futures, the 20 MA is lined up with this little support area right there. All right, Bitcoin, not doing a damn thing. We'll see. Buyers want to step up here. Pretty much everything is not doing a damn thing. Crude oil's pulling back. See, now this got a larger top that violated the support. And it looks like it's coming down here, which could put a little pressure on the markets. And maybe that helps airlines. And, the airlines and the cruise lines were looking interesting last week. So TLT testing lows. Well, that means TBT is going up. 1730. Testing highs. So that's a plus to see interest these going up. But we got oil going down, which kind of neutralizes that. 3-month going up, 5-year going up, 10-year going up, 30-year inching up a little. So these are some positives. Maybe, financials might do well. XLF, one of the things we covered over the weekend was that there's a lot of weekly charts that are still of interest, that are constructive, like this: power move, pullback, retest, wide range bar reversal, but dailies that are all whippy. So, this is up at 39 and change. So some sideways price action or pullback, we got the same everywhere we look, but these more bullish weekly timeframes need a little digestion on the daily timeframes to get something going. And if getting something going could accelerate this SPX toward 5,000, I think we'd be ready for a nice correction. And, we see where the year goes from there. And, we don't really want it to correct here because it's just going to really skew the charts in a more very neutral to somewhat more bearish view. So we'll see how this all unfolds. Silver, getting a little shellacking here this morning, and gold, which they kind of bottoming out. So they tend to be all whippy and erratic. And lastly, our transports, just neutral, right? So pretty much everything is the same. as we look at different markets. And, if we go and look at different sectors, which would take more time, you would pretty much see the same thing. So there you have it. We'll see how today unfolds. And, it might be a boring day, but, just based on what we see so far, we'll take it as it goes. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Happy New Year. So, got a nice gap up. They all kind of retrace right to minor support. Opens here. We have a lot of open longs, and we actually found, well, we found long and short trades for today. It was kind of one of those things of markets overbought. I was looking for shorts, but I actually had a harder time finding them. But these look like no-brainer retracements, if depending on today's gap, obviously. But we'll go through all our pendings here as always. Ford here was a long, and it's gapping over the entry, so we'll have to keep an eye on that on a pullback. Some other gappers here, Fro. Bottoming pattern, there's been so many of these bottoming patterns, and that's just kind of another example of breadth. That under the hood, there's a lot of things, and Greg put one of those things in the weekend letter showing about stocks under their 50 MA or whatever that was. Markets, some of the markets at all-time highs. Then why the heck are there so many bottoming patterns like this? So Fro is oil, nice kind of double bottom retest on the weekly, and a bottoming pattern on the daily, the 20 gapping up. So that's going on my list. Fro, Grub here. Hey Kim, Grub now, but for today's gap, this is what I would call a potential bottoming pattern, because it's still in a downtrend. It's still got nasty 20-50 declining. It's trying to make a higher low here. So now the gap up to 11.25. That's if it holds the gap, then that's a nice something bar. So then now it would be a bottoming pattern. So that's on my list here, bottom right. NIO. These EVs look like they're going to be in play again today. We had this as a put spread in the letter, and now it looks like a day trade long. Looks like it kind of wants maybe to go to $36. That's a beautiful pre-market chart right there. Beautiful gap up, wide range bar, kind of a 1, 2, 3. It's perfect pre-market action right there. So I have NIO on a 5-minute chart right over here. So what's getting this sector rocking? Wow, look at Tesla. That 1250 is all-time high, not 1150. All right, so it's still gapping over last week's high, which is very bullish. So that let's see where it settles down or retraces, but that's definitely a put spread idea under Friday's low, 1060 or lower. Hey, John. And so here's some others that are moving. Up 2 bars, moved a lot already. NIO, we just looked at. LI, 3330. This, we'll keep an eye on it. Could push somewhere 34, 36. Hood, this is just in a nasty trend. So is it a potential bottoming pattern? I don't know. I think it's still needs a lot of work. Roblex, It's a sloppy retest, gapping up here, 105. We'll come back 30-minute high. Maybe a put spread idea. AT&T and Verizon. The FTC asked them to delay rollout of their 5G. And something about possibly interfering with airports. And they said, no, I don't think so. So what do? I look and see what the chart's doing. So they're both gapping up a little bit, T and Verizon. T looks better. We're already in it. We sold the $22 puts way back here on this bullish 1, 2, 3. That was a nice retest pattern. Technically not what we call a W, just because this retracement was too deep, but I traded identically. It had a new low after multiple down bars, gap up, wide range bar on volume with a price void. So we're in that. AFI gapping up to, gap's too big. Look, it's gapping way the heck up here. Sell Z. Potential bottoming pattern, but today is your something bar. But the gap's too big for me. Looked at these XLB. Yeah, so this is strong daily, weekly, monthly, but there's no entry there. But we can look at the components of XLB. Cisco I actually have as a short watch. It's a Climo day trade short, as well as WDC. So this has 2 inside bars after the widest bar ending, topping tail, big old void. I'm gonna just set an alarm here at 65.20. SE, call spread, Gorov, SE. SE, oh, put spread. You're saying SE is gapping up, got it. Yeah, definitely. Let's go through our checklist, Gaurav, right? Which is step 1, make sure they're liquid. Step 2, no pending news. Let's see what we can get for how far away. I'm going to put that in a window, but yeah, definite candidate. Yeah, I like it. AOK, when I was looking at, the weekend homework, cruise ships pulled in a little bit, particularly with the CDC trying to shut down the whole darn industry. But there was a number of airlines holding with voids. So ALK was one, and then Delta, we actually put in the letter. Look at that, this looks great. Big retracement, higher low, 100%, sideways, price void. Kind of the flavor of the IWM, going sideways. What did Greg call it? Sleepy mode, sleeping here at resistance. But I think that could go to 42 bucks. Hey, Robert. There was an article in Barron's that mentioned 10 undervalued semis just based on price earnings. And so I just look at them all. I don't care about the fundamentals. But look at this one, daily, weekly, monthly. So I highlighted these 3 of 10 made it to my interest list. See, these will be pullbacks with bullish daily, weekly, monthly. See, so these 3, this one I think is an ADR. It's pretty gappy the way it trades. Greg, iBuy, we trail stuffed out. We had this short in the ETF letter. I remember a detective asked me one time, he says, do you all short in the, do you core short or short in your ETF? Like, of course, why would we not? And here's one we gave in November, we shorted this breakdown. Look, so I gotta go back and look, but we made like 15 points on the short in a bull market, you know? But now it's on my list, it's a little 1, 2, 3 here. To take a bounce in the elevator back up. I'm gonna set an alarm at 89.50. Ballard here. It's a bottoming pattern. I like the new low rejection in a 1, 2, 3 with a price void. So that looks good. CAE we're already in. Hey, I know someone on YouTube was talking about bull flags. Now this is a bull flag in a bottoming pattern. You know, bull flags work the best in trends because it's a continuation pattern. But that's a beautiful flag right there. You know, here's your flag pole, and it's a controlled 30% trading range pullback. So that 5, 10, 15, 30-minute high, if the market's holding that, that's even if you're not in it, you can add. Greg, the Citigroup we're in, alarm just went off.
Well, interest rates were up, so that's definitely going to help. Let's see what it does here.
Right, so
First few minutes.
the rest, what I'm getting at, should I 5, 10, 15-minute high?
I know. I would wait probably 30 minutes, but let's see. It's early. It's early. You know, how you make a decision in 5 minutes? I don't know.
Well, part of the reason is, would I rather be long this thing instead of, gap into resistance?
I would
So
rather be long it.
I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's how scared are we?
Well, if you didn't share size it appropriately, you're probably terrified.
Well, no, it was share size. I'm